The theme of what we're doing this afternoon is really about transform your workplace. You know, as a Microsoft employee, I've seen many changes in the 5 years that I've been at Microsoft. I've really been centered around the Skype business, the Link business, and unified comms. But there's been some real transformational changes in the solution suite, what we do and how we do. So if I think about Satya's mantra of what we're really here for, you know, people are working on more teams, more projects than they've ever worked on. 41% of people say that mobile business apps are their preferred. I can vouch for that. Any of you that follow me on LinkedIn, you know, you might see me do a hashtag, Where's Wooly? And I'll be, you know, maybe at the Devil's Punch Bowl in Hindhead doing a video call with their 19.6 meg broadband with Bailey the dog under the table eating a sausage. Now, I'm being productive, I'm getting on with the work, but that's really transformational compared to 14 years ago when I had a Saab 900 that had 76,000 miles on it after 12 months. Real difference and change in the way things are done. If we then look at information overload, you know, I can vouch for this, I'm sure that we all can. All of the sources of information that we're getting coming at us, how on earth do we keep on top of all of this this type of information overload stuff that's happening? This is the serious one though. Customer records leaked. 160 million customer records leaked. So security is clearly a hot topic of what's going on. But if you look at what we're here to do, you know, Satya is very, very passionate about our mission. Our mission is to enable every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So let's go a bit deeper. You know, Terry raised some great points, and I'm going to add to some of the insights that Terry raised. Think about this one, that by 2020, there will be 1 million new devices attaching to the internet every hour. Not every month, but every hour. That shows you the pace at which things are growing. You know, I absolutely concur with Terry's comment that the average age of organizations is getting younger. It's forecast that, you know, 12 years is going to be the average age of a company that's registered on the S&P by 2020. And then last but not least, you know, 60% of computing will be in the public cloud by 2025. So we know the drive to the cloud is happening. We know that the Internet of Things is here and really driving the way we do things. But security is a really big element of what's happening. I want to give you an insight into 4 pillars. So trust, collaboration, mobility, and intelligence. Now, how that looks for me is really quite simple. My chosen mobile phone device is the iPhone 6S. It complements my Surface Pro 4 and the devices that I use at home. And on that platform, I'm able to do 2-factor authentication across the entire Office suite. I'm able to pull on many of the collaborations that we deliver, so whether that's Yammer, whether it's Skype, whether it's Microsoft Teams, whether it's OneDrive, you know, all of those applications are working behind 2-factor authentication, so they're safe. But then I also have the ability to take the content that I find when I collaborate, pull it into the standard Office suite, do what I need to do there, and then put it back into my storage. Give you a real life example. A few years ago, I was standing on Whitley train station. I sneezed, had my mobile phone in my hand. I sneezed again, still had the phone in my hand. Sneezed for a 3rd time, it was hay fever. Phone leapt out of my hand onto the railway track. Split second. Do I go and get that handset because it's my handset, or do I call the railway police? That line was shut within minutes to get that handset off that track. Because of 2 things. One, there's a lot of stuff on it that, you know, potentially I wanted, but far more wide-reaching is the fact that that handset is in a place that someone might have gone and got it because it was an asset. Now, thankfully, it was retrieved. I have the phone back, but it just shows you some of the things that are real life, real world. One of the things I was absolutely focused on, though, is that I could go home and I could wipe that handset in seconds. Get all of the data off it, reset it to a default device, and know that all of the company IP that I keep on there behind 2-factor authentication was also doubly secure because I could wipe it. So if we then move on to trust, we made some great announcements this year around the UK data center. It's a massive investment for Microsoft. It's been very well received by enterprises and public sector in the UK. And it really proves, that Microsoft is very serious about investing in the UK, but more, it's investing in the global fabric that ties the world together, that makes information and data more accessible. So there's 4 key pillars that we focus on when we're doing security: integrated and secure, transparency and control, privacy by design. It's not unreasonable to expect that when I'm putting a document into the cloud, I'm not going to get a load of pull-up banners on web browsers that relate to the content of that document. And then last but not least, I hope it's recognized that one area where we really do stand out and we take very seriously is the compliance of our data centers to global standards. Region by region, deep analysis of what we need to do to serve the customers and the enterprises in that environment and respect the rules that the governments have in place. So definitely turbulent times, 160 million records compromised. This is the one that worries me though. The average latency between when it actually happened and when it was found that it happened is 229 days. Stuff like this is share price impacting, it's enterprise impacting. And then last but not least, the real cost to a business is not insignificant. The diversion from other tactics to find out what caused the breach, to rectify the breach, is really not a small investment of time and effort. So the next thing we're going to move on is really, your IT environment. What does it look like? What does the services that you're offering out to people really look like, and how are they protected? But to me and to us, it's an opportunity, a massive opportunity. Terry referred to something that's affectionately known as grey IT, people that will go out and source an application that's not necessarily authorized by IT, but helps them get the job done. And if we look at that, there's some very significant things that have happened. The fabric of how we get information, who we get information to, the sources that we pull information from is evolving at a massive rate of knots. And the best thing is, you never really know if you've got control how that's being onwardly shared. So some things are spiraling out of control with great intent. I don't honestly believe anyone ever does anything out of malice when they're sharing documents or, trying to include people in teams. But at the end of the day, there is a real enterprise impact on how information is shared and who it's shared with. And it's important that we put a management structure around that so that we're really protecting the enterprise and the people that are doing the productive work. So if we then look at the security posture, what are we seeing? How do you address security as an enterprise? And typically we see protect. We want to protect the individual and the organization. We then want to detect when it's happened. And then last but not least, if something does happen, we want to respond. Because if we look at what's really happening, all of the sources of information are absolutely getting more and more every day. And what we feel, what we believe in our hearts at Microsoft is that we have the unique intelligence to provide the most secure, trusted cloud. 300 million user authentications a month, 200 billion emails analyzed for spam and malware, 1 billion Windows devices updated as we learn and as we find new threats. The statistic that's not on here that I find quite staggering is that we invested over $1 billion in security-based tasks last year, whether that was acquisitions, whether that was internal development. It makes us one of the biggest spenders ever on security because we take it that seriously. It's in our DNA. The next topic I want to move on to is collaboration with Office 365. I've been part of the Skype team, the Link team for 5 years now. And I've really seen that product evolve as it comes into Office 365. Funnily enough, Office 365 was 5 years old in April. So again, we've seen that maturity of our cloud productivity suite. So let's see what's been happening. Terry raises a really good point. You know, collaboration is how work gets done. We're working on more teams and more things than we've ever done. I see this. If we then look at how things happen, I'm looking at OneDrive, I'm looking at SharePoint, I'm looking at Enterprise Social. Really good reference to the chat-based workspace. There was a report done recently that shows the average age of people working for Microsoft, working for Google, working for Apple, working for Amazon. And without fail, all of us are seeing a trend that is way diverse. You know, people that want to come and work for organizations like ourselves and get involved in the tech industry is absolutely going through the roof, because it's a massively exciting time to be part of what we're doing. But there's three things to think of that we're still pulling through from the old world: shadow IT, siloed apps, wasted time. People don't like wasted time, and I think that's what drives shadow IT. The number of times I talk to customers and they turn around and they say, well, we know there's a pocket of this over here, we know there's a pocket of that over there, because individuals and teams have gone and done what they needed to do to deliver the task to the enterprise, because they are so passionate about wanting to be productive and really make the enterprise feel that they value what they do. So what changes? You know, as we move to this more connected world, a very connected and complete collaboration solution, integrated experiences, and then definitely something that we've really homed in on today, security and compliance. So as we look at the amount of acquisitions that we've been making over the years and how we pull those in and turn that around to be part of the Office 365 suite, personally, I believe we provide an unprecedented level of choice that we can all choose as to how we want to get our work done during the course of the working day. Some people choose email. There are some environments that are still right for email. Personally, my example of the Devil's Punch doll was one example I wanted to use, that you really can be out and about, and I can pull content in, share content, do video, invite other people on a voice call, pull other people on a video call, wake a few guys up in America because we need an answer, all by sitting on a wooden bench in the middle of nowhere with a 19.6 meg broadband and Wi-Fi. So it's incredible to see how that changes my life and how I can use a mix of these tools to really make sure that I'm getting the job done. But what I'd like to do today is really talk about something that Terry spoke about. He spoke about my teams. You know, Microsoft are moving into this space as well as part of Office 365. And we're announcing Microsoft Teams. The announcement was actually made in New York week before last. Terry, yes, if you do abbreviate it, it comes out to what you're thinking. But in essence, it really does address that chat-based work environment. Do you know, as soon as I saw this launch, I put my hand up and said, I want to be the Teams champion for the piece of Microsoft that I work in. It's called Partner Business and Development, because this really does revolutionize the way things get done. But I think there is one unique differentiator that Microsoft has over any company that are offering these style of solutions. Office 365 is powered by something called Office Graph. Office Graph is an intelligent fabric that is storing lots of data about the utilization of the resources that I'm taking during my collaboration sessions, who I'm collaborating with, and the output. Let me summarize that in one way. So, for instance, I've changed roles recently. I work with a different set of people now, but I don't want to lose the connections that I've got to people that I used to work with. I've built valuable relationships in the 5 years that I've been at Microsoft. And every now and then, teams will pop up and tell me, you haven't spoken to so-and-so for a while. So-and-so's done this document, you might find it useful. And what I really love about that proactive interaction with the software is that it's guiding me and giving me back more mind time to decide what needs to be done and when and how I do it. So in essence, Teams is available on any platform. It's a hub. One of the things you'll notice that has been absolutely done by design is that the form factor is a framework that we're starting to use across many of the products. Because what we don't want people to do is have to learn new interfaces for each type of solution that they're using. So you may well find that the Teams application has a lot of resemblance to Dynamics. Bars across the middle, tabs down the side, really done to represent that uniformity so that it's easy to switch from application to application and get the most productive interaction with it at any given point in time. Customizable for each team. I can pull people into Teams, I can have documents that are relevant to that team, I can have interaction with Skype for Business from voice through to video, and then I can store that and have it accessed anywhere I want. The bit that I'm really excited about is that we are launching APIs, which means that we can integrate into SaaS providers, but also that it opens up new partner opportunities for people that we actually think of customers. Now let's think about that. We're all used to doing something, and our business has been doing something for many years, but all of our enterprises contain a lot of IP which has the opportunity to be productized. You're all experts in your given verticals. You've all learned things over the years relating to your industries. One of the things I'd ask you to think about is that with the API-driven world, there is an opportunity for customers to think about how they start new businesses inside those businesses. The embryonic startups, the application developers that can really start to launch those types of services that are relevant to verticals. But again, going back to the security element, this is absolutely vital that we adhere to the model clauses, the ISO standards, because although it's chat, although it's available on every device, the content that is going in here is company relevant content. And we have to put those security standards around it that you as customers expect from us as Microsoft. And we've seen some really high-profile brands trial and test the product. We heard from a motoring organization at Microsoft recently. There'll be press announcements coming out soon about one of the motoring organizations who have been using our technology to revolutionize the way in which they proactively keep in touch with customers. And I think Terry made a great reference about the field worker, the task worker. And we're seeing more of that interaction, when customers are out in the field, how much of that diagnosis process can be automated, how much of it can be treated without human intervention, but when it is treated with human intervention, how much information does that person have at their fingertips to fix it first time? In the retail world, we've seen a really good discussion coming from Mr. Collier at Marks & Spencer's. He's opened it out to his teams and given them the choice as to which is the most relevant tool in Office 365 for them to use. The move to the cloud is something that we've been driving and pushing for many years, 5 years with Office 365. And we come across many of the challenges that customers face. Interconnectivity is slow. I've got email servers here with 2 terabytes of data in. I've got a 100 meg pipe. It's going to take me 14 months to move all of this data. I've got policies that I need to consider that are internal to the organization. I've got people that use old levels of software because there's an application that they need to use. So one of the things that we invested in very early on that gets very significant investment on a year-by-year basis is our Fast Track Center. The Fast Track Center are a global team designed to work with customers and partners to understand the intricate blockers that stop the move to the cloud and have a framework ready that helps accelerate that move to the cloud. It might be the CISO, it might be the Chief Information Security Officer who's decided that it can't happen because of X, Y, Z. We have teams on hand that can meet with those and respect the positions they're in and help them and reassure them as to why the move to the cloud is the right thing to do. We then have other teams that will meet with deployment specialists on a more, this is how you use the technology, this is how you can drive adoption. Because one of the things I'm very passionate about on a personal level is that I'm 48 years old this year, but I love to keep up to date with the latest versions of our software. And I get very passionate about using PowerPoint on the iPhone. I leap out of bed when I get an update overnight that says Skype for Business, the dog food version, the unreleased version, has had an update and there's a new feature. Because I can relate it to how it's going to improve what I want to do. So while I accept the world doesn't move fast, I believe there's an onus on us as one of the biggest software vendors in the world to actually impart the success that can be driven for using new and latest applications. So the Fast Track Centre are here to help drive that and push that adoption piece as well. The next piece is mobility, and I think, I gave the example of the mobile phone on the train track, and Terry gave some great insights about how the world is becoming more mobile as well. But if we look at what's happening, 63% of data breaches were done from a mobile device. 80% of shadow IT applications are being pulled from the internet and used by the teams who are eager to be more productive and get things done. Is that right or is that wrong? I think it's absolutely brilliant because they're being tenacious. They want to prove to the enterprise that they're getting their work done. But on a backdrop of tighter economic conditions that mean that IT spend will only grow by 0.6%. So more with less is the classic phrase. We've got to do more with less. So when we're meeting with customers, if we look at the richness of Office 365, email, storage, collaboration, security, mobile applications, Office on up to 10 devices, one of the discussions that we have with customers is, please do an analysis of what you're using that does what Office 365 does, because we're pretty convinced that one of the major return on investments that we can give is that you can consolidate down those applications, consolidate down the management of getting those applications working, and really leverage an entire stack that we build more value into on a daily basis. And then making those applications available across all of the mobile platforms as well as we move into this new era of mobile working. The other area that we added recently, we've made some great acquisitions in the Power BI space. It's absolutely relevant that we understand the content, the information that we've got inside the organization, that we've got outside of the organization, and stuff that we can pull from the internet. So again, we've put Power BI applications inside Office 365. So I know that I've got a couple of dashboards on the mobile phone that I can look at in the morning. My role is to go out and recruit partners. So I can look at the entire life cycle of partner recruitment, number of applications, where they're at in the process, and have a Power BI dashboard as I'm walking down to the train or walking the dog or doing whatever I'm doing. But again, it's important that we have this intelligence, and I really do want to reiterate, one of the biggest USPs Microsoft has is Office Graph. It's revolutionary because it's the fabric of intelligence that knits together all of the interactions that we have, makes them searchable, and proactively helps you to do things with other people and collaborate with other people with the right information. So if we then look at security and enterprise mobility, we're really investing in these areas. As I said, over $1 billion invested in security applications because we want people to be more productive on the device of their choice and then leverage that output to be more productive. With Windows 10, we've seen some updates coming, and there'll be more coming as you would expect. But in essence, we're well on track to achieve the company goals with the growth of Windows 10. It's phenomenal, some of the stuff that we're putting into it, especially around Cortana and all of those search and assist applications. But in essence, it just means that we're building and updating and keeping up to date with an operating system that is addressing all of the threats that appear on the internet at any given time, but also help people be more productive with the applications that they're familiar with. So just to close this out, I think we've covered a lot of things in under 30 minutes. We've added new things. Authoring on tablets. If anyone saw me upstairs, I was drawing in OneNote. I could then email that OneNote out to someone. They didn't have to take the classic picture. I can share that on OneNote. I can store stuff on my sites, on OneDrive and on SharePoint. I can have all of my collaboration tools and my telephony features from Skype for Business. And then if I need to know what's happening in the enterprise at any given time, I've got an entire Power BI suite that allows me to search, find, retrieve, and analyze data. Some of the things that we've been working on, I hope you've seen that we've added PSTN conferencing to Skype for Business, so the ability to have Skype on every mobile device, but also have those really required dial-in numbers for where Wi-Fi connectivity is weak. We've added PSTN calling, where customers want to consolidate down calling plans. That complements, I use that word purposefully, that complements all of the telco services that partners offer. And then last but not least, great investments in Skype meeting broadcast. The ability to transcribe and transcript meetings and then change the language. That's going to grow. There's a language base of 4 languages. That's growing very rapidly and very quickly. But there is so much interest for that style of application. Do you know one of the biggest areas I've seen the interest come from? Education. Where tutors want to hold classes, where they want to do the MOOC style of content delivery, but be able to appeal to an entirely new audience because Skype for Business can offer real-time translation services. And then if we look at some of the other things that we've been working on, Outlook on iOS. I'm lucky enough to see the stuff that's coming along because I work for Microsoft. We also have preview programs. I would encourage you to search and register for the preview programs. But I'm getting updates for Outlook every day. I'm getting updates for Skype for Business every other day. I love that pace of innovation. It lets us see the new stuff come along. But it also hopefully gives you trust that we are investing in the future that we are both going to experience together. We've seen a shift. It still takes us long to plan a project. But with the move to the cloud, we're seeing the delivery time shorten. We're seeing that there is roughly the same amount of overhead when it comes to operate. But the bit that I'm really excited about, and the bit I get passionate about, is the ability to enhance what we offer to be relevant to you with a partner channel that's skilled and customers that have knowledge of their own industry is absolutely unprecedented. And the one closing comment I would give you is if you are considering moving to the cloud, consider faster. If you're not considering moving to the cloud, consider it quickly, because the benefits are absolutely enormous. I'd like to thank you for listening. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much.